Hi, everyone. My name's Andrew McCusker, and I'm the Global Head of the Education Finance Program at Opportunity International. We're a global NGO that works across more than 30 countries around the world, implementing financial inclusion solutions as a means to end extreme poverty. Welcome to today's panel. It's called Financing the Future, Innovative Financing Solutions for Early Childhood Care and Education. Early childhood is one of the most critical periods of a child's life, but millions of families in low middle income countries don't have access to quality childcare. Nearly 60% of children in low income countries lack access to early learning, with 72% of those under age 3 receiving no childcare at all. Without affordable options, families often resort to enrolling children in primary school prematurely, undermining their school readiness and straining the public systems. With government systems often overstretched, market-based solutions are stepping in to fill the gaps. Entrepreneurial non-state providers and early learning centres play a critical role in providing education to underserved communities where state-based systems cannot keep pace. However, the non-state providers face their own obstacles, particularly when it comes to securing the financial and operational support needed to expand their reach. The good news is that there are solutions, and we're going to talk about some of them today, with local financial institutions play a critical role in ensuring that we can broaden the educational landscape for the youngest of learners. When they're designed to meet the specific needs of early learning centres, a combination of tailored financial products and technical assistance training can expand the reach of childcare to millions while stimulating enhancing educational opportunities and improving educational quality. But addressing these needs requires collaboration across financial institutions, from impact investors and education leaders. I hope many of you have joined us today. Today, we're fortunate to have a panel of experts who are at the forefront of these efforts. Please join me in welcoming Jane Ake, who's the Opportunity International's Senior Technical Assistance Advisor for Education Finance, and Julius Mcharo, the CEO of Victoria Finance in Tanzania. Thank you both for joining this conversation. Today, we will explore the innovative approaches that are helping to ensure Africa's youth have access to the education they deserve. So without further ado, let's dive in. Julius, I wonder if you might be able to tell us about yourself and your work, and tell us a little bit about why it is so important that you are working within the education sector.
Thank you, and good afternoon. My name is Julius Mcharo. I serve as a Managing Director of Victoria Finance PLC here in Tanzania. And I would say my story begins with my belief that financing is not just giving access to credit, but rather it's a tool that to provide transformation and create opportunity where it matters a lot. And that's why Victoria Finance, we have been involved in financing the childhood care and education, because we believe the earliest time of a child provides a quite important foundation for the future, economic and social development for a child. Providing the quality education for a child not only give them a tool to be able to transform their lives, but be able to do better in schools, do better in providing productive, in the economic and the social development. But over and above that, being able to, break the cycles of poverty. In addition, we believe that by providing finance to early childhood education, that means we also empower our parents, especially women, where they will have more ample time to participate fully in the economic development, but also being able to strengthen families, and also, improving the quality of community around ourselves. Looking at Tanzania perspective, I would say the early childhood education, it is not just a simple issue, but I think it's a strategic investment to play around. Much as we command a significant highest level of enrollment in the world, we still face significant challenges, especially on the rural, where we face many challenges, given the fact that there's very, very challenge with infrastructure. We have very few schools altogether, but we have a serious limited access to finance to support all this development. So we believe, and I for one believe that by financing early childhood education, that means we are financing our future entrepreneurs, we are financing our future workforce, but also we are financing our leaders. So if we focus on early childhood financing, that means we are creating a lifetime, support of the future possibilities for our kids and for our community. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Julius. It's why I'm so pleased to be working with you and Victoria Finance on this initiative. Jane, I wonder if you would tell us a little bit about yourself and your work and about why you think it's so important that we increase investment into early childhood development.
Thank you very much, Andrew. As a senior technical assistance advisor at Opportunity to Finance, this role that I play in, and I have played in for the last 6 or so years, is a role of transformation. When I flash back at when I started, I always like talking about my journey. When I started and I joined 6 years ago, we had 43 financial institution partners that we had supported. And as we closed in June, we had 208. So you can just look at the kind of transformation. 4 million children impacted in the month that I joined. As we closed, we're about 19 million. So the work that we do is a very transformative kind of tool. And what I look at in this particular case, especially at the ECC level, is that it's not just about the loan. I know that still when I joined in June, we had about 230 million invested in the sector. And as we closed in June, this had gone to about 1.2 billion. When we look at this sector of ECCE, it's not about just loans, because we are looking at the brainchild, the brain of the child, which is developing at the time. So emotionally, socially, and then the cognitive skills. But I liked what Julius said as well, where he talked about relieving the mother, because most of this, it's the mother that takes care of society. So most of the financial institutions, as we have been supporting them all through this time, some of them have been focusing on loans to these business people, but not caring too much, taking it into the education side. And with this growth of financial institution partners, we've seen a dedicated focus with us supporting them to develop products. So we see that now these products are going to relieve the mother, because that sector meant that the mother had to stay home a little longer to keep the children. But now the mother is relieved to go and become more economically active. So for me, that transformation is the most important part of the work that we do at Opportunity to Finance. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you for sharing that important point. I think Julia spoke a little bit about the educational and development outcomes of young children and the importance of investing in them. And Jane, you raise a great point about also investing in their mothers. I would also add the providers of the early childhood care and education as business people. Jane, I wonder why preschools remain so overlooked by lenders. How do the regulatory challenges or registration challenges contribute to that?
Now, when we flash back to the efforts that I think that the government, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, had in order to promote and having more children going to school, that sector, the preschool, is normally a little relaxed compared to the other sectors. So it is easier to open a preschool compared to, say, a primary school. Now, when something good like that happens, there's sometimes a downside. So the regulation is not as tight. So now when there is a problem with regulation, the financiers tend to step back a little bit because they may not be sure if their money will be repaid. So we have preschools that are most times in rented places. If a primary school was to be regulated and licensed, most likely they will say, have a place of your own, which is not a precondition for these schools. So the regulation has affected a little bit in that respect. For most of the countries that we work in, it is either social welfare or at the level of the district, the school is approved to operate. So we have a number of them that even start and they do not have that licensing or they're not registered. They may not have the collateral to give the financial institution partners. That even makes it worse. So those are some of the challenges that we have seen in this sector. But from the point of view that we are in right now, for us who look at education as a holistic approach to improving learning outcomes, we do believe that this sector that has been overlooked is actually an attractive sector. We've done market research in Tanzania, for example, and we are lucky to have Julius online today from Tanzania. The market research showed that there is a lot of market potential because when we carry out that market research, the objective is really to shed light on the financial profile and the financing needs of the stakeholders around the sector. So we indicated that there is market potential. Financial institutions are starting to see that it's attractive, but also apart from looking at the finance side, we always look at the other side, that if we do not build our children at this age, by the time we are thinking of recruitment later on in life, we may not get the quality of employees that we need to run most of the sectors in our countries.
Thank you for sharing those challenges, Jane. I think I've seen that also in other countries outside of Tanzania, that while the ECD and childcare providers tend to be small, there is so much demand and market opportunity for this sector to grow. Julius, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about how Victoria Finance goes about financing the early childhood education ecosystem and the differences that that makes.
Thank you, Andrew. And building on what my sister Jane just said about Tanzania and the opportunities that lies in the education sector, our approach, I would say, we look at a more holistic ecosystem-based financing of early childhood care and education. And we recognize the fact that we need sustainability in supporting the education, especially for early adopters, early child, to ensure that we are building foundation. Our approach, we look at 3 pillars where we finance schools improvement, but also looking at teachers and then looking at parents or guardians that are providing school fee. We have been able to finance more than 20 schools for the period that we have been financing education. We have supported teachers, more than 208 teachers we have financed. And through this, you look at more than 2.1 billion, which we have already invested in education. And I just want to give you an example on how we have been able to address the issue of financing the schools. And I have one lady called Anna, who is the owner and the director of Andrew Schools, where she was struggling with, overcrowded classrooms. And upon, meeting Victoria Finance, we were able to structure finance and provide finance for construction of the new classrooms. And as I'm speaking, we are talking about doubling the enrollment for that particular school. We have been able to support her teachers to get access to loans. And as we said, the challenge of collateral requirements. So we were able to sort out that because with, memorandum of understanding between Andrew Schools and Victoria Finance, we were able to give finances to her teachers as well. But we never stopped there because she has dreams and we want to, support her dream for expansion of the school business. And we were able to provide again, support to buy more land, to buy more plots around the school so that she can be able to build and expand the school. Over and above that, we were able to basically, encourage her to open a new branch area called Mapinga, which is in the next region called Coastal Region near Bagamoyo City. Now she has another branch of daycare, which has almost 15 students, which they started from last year. So this type of model where it looks after the whole, ecosystem of schools, talking about school as a school, but looking at teachers, looking at parents, means you are creating more sustainability in the future and therefore supporting the whole community and supporting the country development altogether. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius, and congratulations on that success of Victoria Finance in financing not just the providers themselves, but also the ecosystem. We're delighted that you've been able to build that portfolio. You had mentioned a little bit earlier about some of the support that you've received. Jane, I wonder if you could spend a few minutes walking through the technical assistance journey that our financial institution partners go on with us, from the market research to the product design to the School Leadership Academy, and how those interventions change the lending behaviour.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. And indeed, whenever we go into a new market, we do believe that data is gold. So we have to make sure that any recommendations that we make to our financial institution partners is based on data that we've collected from the market. So in the countries that we are currently working in, we've carried out market research. And the main reason we carry it because we want to find out the financial profile of three main stakeholders, and that is the school owners, the teachers, and the parents that take their children to the low-cost and mid-cost schools. So then when we get that, we are able to condense that into a presentation to our financial institution partners. In countries where we already exist, we can deal with those that are already our partners and then the prospective partners. And luckily, most of the times that we've done that in the countries, the answer has been yes, because the financial institution partners see the need to invest in the sector. So then we go ahead and finish the onboarding and contracting process. And it is from that we then co-create a product. We look at their risk acceptance criteria, the focus that they're interested in, and then we come up with a product recommendations that respond to the challenges that would have seen that has been reflected in the market research. Now, Andrew, allow me to speak a little bit about the product, and especially as it links to the ECCEs. And in some of the countries, luckily I've really supported in product development in most of these countries in sub-Saharan Africa. We find that especially on the ECCEs, in most of the countries, most of them, like we said, lack a lot of these things. So as we come to co-create this product, we normally create it in such a way that it addresses, especially for the schools, in their different levels of development. in Uganda, in Malawi, in Nigeria, in Ghana, at least those 4 countries, you find most of the private schools have come from either nursery, some kind of preschool, and they develop. So at that level, the number of children are fewer. The kind of needs are also different. It could be rented space. So mostly it is working capital. So as we develop the product, we develop a product that speaks to the different levels that the school is in. The ECCs normally are at that level. And then as we grow and as the school grows, we then go to possibly buying of buses, furniture and all that. And a developed school then comes up with infrastructure. We've seen even schools as they start that need infrastructure, but just a small amount making quite an impact. Most recently, just 2 weeks ago, I was in Ghana and we visited a school. There's a school called New Comprehensive School. This lady told us of a story how she started with only 5 children. But as we speak now, the time that we went to visit her, she had 671. Okay, 671 children. But previously, she didn't have a loan. What then changed? Now, we worked with financial institution partners, created the product, trained the staff, but there was still a gap. So we have several school leadership academies. And in School Leadership Academy, this is a training that we have focused on really delivering training to school owners over 4 main areas: the school environment, keeping records, financial management, that includes budgeting, and then how to approach a financial institution. Those are 4 key areas. So when this school then came in for the School Leadership Academy, they interfaced with the financial institutions. Now, for a school that had gone to this financial institution and it was not responsive, when they came back from that School Leadership Academy, they came and applied, and in a very short while, they were able to receive a loan. So I'm just looking at the tail end of it all, where we brought the financial institution together with the school. We saw transformation. So they were able to equip their lab at the time, and they started robotics. And we were really so excited when we went to visit them, because it was part of our training for the staff of that financial institution. So when we are done with training the staff, they've started the product. We even support those that may be struggling through the pilot process. So it's really depends on the financial institution, and at the level that the financial institution is, that is how we also tailor our support to this to the financial institutions. And thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Jane. Julius, moving back to a comment that you made earlier around the success of Victoria Finance in growing its investments into the ECD ecosystem. Jane has spoken a little bit about some of the support that Opportunity International has provided, but I wonder what are the biggest financing bottlenecks that you currently face at Victoria Finance? Is it collateral? Is it the informality of the ECD centres? Is it the cost of funding, or something else? And how has Victoria Finance managed to design products that meet the market needs despite those challenges?
Thank you, Andrew. And I would say that financing of early childhood care and education is not simple, or like walking into the park. It requires a lot. There's so much to talk about the bottlenecks, and I'll talk about the major ones. These are collateral, and second is basically the high cost of credit. Most of the entities or enterprises are small. Majority are women-led, and therefore, when it comes to the issue of collateral, they don't have collateral to support their financing needs, and therefore there has been a major challenge for them to get access to finance and to improve their school business. But over and above that, given, especially for when I speak about Victoria Finance, as a microfinance, we don't accept a deposit. So our our funding depends on the debt, majority of them, which are very high. Now, looking at a level where we get funding around 17% to 18%, and now passing it over to these small schools, it becomes very exorbitant high. You're talking about 36% to 42% per year. So this is considered very high, but also, it doesn't come with as a long-term financing. Some of them are short-term and therefore create some, asymmetric gaps between the requirement of these particular schools and what they should basically get a better financing from. Now, as a financing institution, Victoria, we look at it in the different ways. One, in terms of collateral, we look at the cash flow because that's where is more stronger than just looking at the collateral. So there are some institutions or schools where, yes, the collateral is weak, but you look at their cash flow, their cycles, gives you a comfort to be able to lend to them. But looking at, for example, teachers with the lack of collateral, we still are able to finance them because we have an understanding between us and the school where we can create a structure where it's easier for them to access finance from Victoria without necessarily a requirement for the collateral. So in that way, we're able to support the school, but we are able to support teachers, we are able to support parents as well. In terms of credit, the high cost of credit, Victoria, we've been working with impact funders. And I'll give you an example where we have been working with the Blue Orchard and REFA Fund, which gives us, a more comfort to lower our cost because initially it was much higher. We were able to get funding from REFA and being able to pass it to, these schools for them to benefit from the accessibility point of view. We're also working with Bamboo Capital that running the Build Fund, which also supports the education. And for that case, as an institution, we were able to access long-term financing, but at lower cost, which continue to be passed the benefit to these particular schools. In addition, and this is where Jen and the Opportunity International comes to the play, because one of the areas is also how do you develop product, because this also requires financing, but we are able to get technical assistance from Opportunity International. And the early stage of our edu finance development, we were fully supported by Opportunity International, where we were able to develop the right product for financing the education, and therefore supporting the early childhood care and education to be able to access finance from Victoria Finance. So I would say using this kind of approach, having partnership, having people that have the similar passion can basically support and help to iron out these bottlenecks that we're talking about in financing ECCE. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that, Julius. And I'm delighted to hear about the progress that Victoria Finance has made in trying to raise lower cost funding to support the portfolio through Blue Orchard, through the product design work that you've done with Opportunity International, as well as through some creative credit assessment in looking at cash flows rather than collateral, realizing the constraints there. Jane, I wonder if you could close out by sharing with us some of the innovations that you're seeing in the space what are some of the things that we should be excited about, given the big opportunity that the private sector has to finance early childhood care and education?
Thank you very much, Andrew. And first of all, I'm really excited. It warms my heart to hear that a financial institution is considering cash flows and, turning a sort of blind eye to collateral. So it's something that we preach every day, especially to this sector where people are really challenged. We've seen that problem with the women, especially. They don't have the collateral, and yet they're the ones who run this subsector quite significantly. So that is really a plus, and it's good to hear that Victoria Finance is doing that. Now, Andrew, as I respond to the innovations, we had in August, we're in Malawi conducting a research. We visited 11 financial institution partners, both current and prospective. And it was basically looking at the preschool sector. So we asked each and every one of them, are you interested in the sector? And all the 11 said yes. So that was a good thing. So some of them were even eager and say, as soon as the report comes out, please, we want to start this out, because we already have our kind of loans are digital loans. So we are able to reach people not only here in the urban. We feel that the people in the peri-urban and the people in the rural areas need us even more. And I think that is what really excites me about this sector. So these financial institutions coming in to say, yes, we are able to do so, but also for us seeing innovations, especially in the school fee collection area, which has been a problem. When we carry out our market research, it shows that up to 50%, in certain instances, 50% of the school fees is not collected. But the moment a tool is used, for example, the case for Uganda, when most of the financial institutions started using school pay as a way of, collecting fees, financial institutions saw a significant payment of fees coming through their accounts. We really think that innovation in school fee collection is bound to revolutionize the sector. Also, please allow me to say this, and it was really something that took me a little bit back. When we started that market research in Malawi, we were told that we have about 900, schools or entities that deal in this sector. And for some of them, they told us only about 30% may be registered, because most of them open and close. So when we are looking at this sector and we look at the potential that is there, but then that they are not supported, and more than 70% or about 70% of them are either not registered or closed along the way, that is really, really a very big impact on the education sector. So when we see an interest in financial institutions coming up with products that can digitally reach this, I believe that we are really going to turn around this sector and have better learning outcomes in a few years to come in most of sub-Saharan Africa.
Jane, I share your enthusiasm, given the massive opportunity that we have to finance this sector. I think we spoke a little bit earlier on in the call about the large deficit. So many children at pre-primary age that are currently not in childcare or ECD, a lack of public provision of those services, and the big role that the private sector is currently playing and will continue to play in the future. Julius, thank you so much for sharing the story of Victoria Finance. We have been delighted to work with you on this initiative over the last few years, and are looking forward to doing more with you in the future. To the people who have joined us on this webinar today, our financial institution peers, technical assistance providers, impact investors, we would love to work with more of you to get more capital invested into this very important sector. And so you can feel free to reach out to myself, Jane, or Julius if you would like follow-up conversations. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we're looking forward to the next Financial Inclusion Week.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much.